Reflections of Purpose.
Good morning. Thanks so much for joining Twisted Threads. I'm Karen Sims, and you joined us for our Reflections of Purpose. As always, we want you to, grab your buddies, go like and share the video, and hopefully you'll hear something that resonates with you this morning to start you on your way and give you some direction for the purpose for today. So, as always, we get right into it. Our topic for today is murdering procrastination. Yes, murdering procrastination. So when we think about procrastination, a lot of us, we've got a couple of things that keep us in our own way. We've got accomplishments, we've got dreams, we've got goals for those of us who are dreamers, who still dream on a daily basis, outside of winning the lottery and, getting rich quick. Some of us have some dreams that require some work and require some of our attention in detail. And then our good bestie comes along, procrastination. And procrastination comes in many different forms, and we want to talk about it because one thing about the perfect murder, yes, we're going to talk about it like that. Planning the perfect murder requires for you to know what it is, to know how you get around it, and to know how to kill it. So yes, we're about to commit a crime today in the eyes of a lot of different areas because it's time for us. It's time for us to murder procrastination, or guess what? Come 2020, we'll be in the same place that we were this year. And that should be the ultimate crime of staying stagnant for an entire year. Some of us have been in the same place for 10 years and 20 years. But now it's that time for us to move forward. And so in order to move forward, we want to identify what are the things that are in our way and then figure out how to resolve them so that they don't get in our way. So when we think about murdering procrastination, the first thing we need to do is be honest, because a lot of us are like, no, I get stuff done and I have no problem with procrastination. Well, if you're a friend of mine, you might have a procrastination issue because, birds of a feather flock together. I say it as one of my things where it's like, no, not right now. Sometimes it's fear. And we'll get into that a little bit more of how fear kind of feeds procrastination. But in the beginning, it's being honest with ourselves and saying, okay, how do we stall ourselves? And there's a lot of things, One of the ways that we stall ourselves with procrastination is doing nothing at all, putting it off until tomorrow. And so that's probably the most common way that people are like, well, I'm busy today, but, this weekend. And then something happens, or we might get a cold, or, the car needs servicing, or the kids need something, or a loss of a loved one. There's so many things that are real reasons why we can't move forward. But then procrastination sets in because we didn't do it right now. Imagine if you say, I need to take 10 minutes to do things. And we'll talk about time management and how that helps in our everyday life. But when we're talking about murdering procrastination, being honest is one. Stop tripping over every detail. Literally, stop tripping over it. Stop tripping and falling, and stop tripping mindset. So set tripping in your mind to say, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that because ... Remove those dots and know that every step that you take gives you a step closer to fulfilling your dream, completing your goal, and getting an accomplishment that's worth celebrating. Because if you don't want to do it for any other reason, murder procrastination because there's a party at the end. Hey, really understand that. Stop trying to make it perfect. So if you're writing a book, we've got editors for that. If you're doing some artwork, we've got other artists for that. If you're writing a song, we've got songwriters for that. Whatever it is, if you're opening a business, we've got small business councils that will help you with that. Stop trying to make it perfect because you know why? You get lost in the details. In the book, Good to Great, that's one of the biggest things that they highlight as an opportunity for people to understand that they get stuck in. You get stuck because it's good, but you spend too much time trying to make it great. Really think about that and figure out which ways you can kind of just train your mind to shut it off and say, okay, I'm going to stay in my lane. This is what I'm doing. And I'm not going to be focused with all of the other things, because here's what happens. When you have a completed project, you then get the opportunity to say, okay, let me grab my writer friend and get somebody else's eyes on it. Let me get my marketing marketing friend. And if you don't have these friends, get some new friends. That'll be a whole nother reflection of purpose as well. So get some and be one. Information overload is also a problem because sometimes we get that imposter syndrome. And they'll be alive about that too. Imposter syndrome, where we think we don't have enough knowledge, where we think we don't have enough resources, where we disqualify ourselves because of our separate life experiences. And we think, oh, but I need to get more information before I could get me to that other level. Well, if you woke up and you press play on this reflection of purpose, chances are you were dope already and you're just going to be more dope today. So we've got to stop disqualifying ourselves. We've got to cure ourselves from that imposter syndrome. And sometimes that creates fear in different ways. But murdering procrastination gives us an opportunity to say, I'm going to sign up and learn as I go. Apprenticeship. That's something that we used to do back in the day. You used to have plumber apprentice, carpenter apprentice. Like you would go on a job and you would get hands-on training while you were getting paid to do the job that you were getting trained for. And understanding that that's a way of us living. When we think about, in my role as life coach for particular people, I don't come in and give them, a business plan. Here's your 3 to 5 business strategy. And if you follow this, you'll be a billionaire. I mean, I'm still trying to get that tweaked for myself. But what the purpose of a life coach allows you to do is sit down, talk to you, create compartments for yourself so that you can really kind of do that deep dive and dig in and answer some of the hard questions of why do you do the things that you do? What motivates you? What causes you to stall and procrastinate? So knowing more about you literally is the way that you can work to murder procrastination. If you really want to see some things get done in your life, you got to make a commitment to be consistent with things. It doesn't matter. I love it because one of my writer friends that went to high school with, and she's world renowned, and she's like, okay, tell us about your writing goals. And we try to support each other. And I'm like, I want to write 30 minutes a day. And then she came back and I'm just going to say her name, because I really respect her, Aaliyah King. And she came back and she said, don't make the goal when you first start a big one. Try writing for 5 minutes. Like, I love that because that was a motivator to me. I was like, yes, I could write for 5 minutes. And then you build it up. So today you did 5, tomorrow you do 5. Maybe by the end of the week, you'll be able to do 10. And then you build yourself up so that it doesn't seem so big. I love it because we say oftentimes, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. That means you got to break it down into smaller compartments, into things that don't seem so big for your mind. Because that's the reason why we procrastinate most often. It's too big. It's too much for us to think things through. But imagine if you decided this year, I want to improve my credit. First things first, know where your money is going. Know who you owe. Making a list, whether you go to one of the, credit reporting services and figure out, who is trying to figure out what you owe them, and write all of that stuff down. And really the most common point that people say is once you write it down, start at the bottom, start at your lowest number, pay that off, and then take that money and flip it over. And literally that reinvests into you paying your debt. And we're going to get more into that as we continue with these reflections of purpose. But if you take your challenges in life and treat them that way, write down what it is that you want to do, figure out what obstacles, count the cost. Count the cost of your time, of your energy, of your resources, and understand that as you get them into compartments, you literally are able to map out your success. So meal planning is another way that we try to show success in our lives and not procrastinate when it comes to dieting or lifestyle changing in our eating styles. We literally plan our meals and say, this is how much I'm going to eat of this. This is how much I'm going to eat of that. So murdering procrastination. What do we need to do? We got to stop tripping over all of the details. Stop trying to make it perfect. Don't get into the information overload and walk away from the imposter syndrome that's causing you to decide not to pursue in the way that you want to. Why? because our goals are ahead of us. Remember, as we always say, like, the world is waiting for you, but you've got to take the first step to introduce yourself into the world in which we live in and the people around you who need your voice. They need to hear your story. They need for you to speak your truth. That's our reflection for today. We're murdering procrastination. The homework is write it down. Spend some time with yourself. Map out the things that have been in your way. Because why? We're bulldozing those things right on down, and we're not going to bury them alive. We are going to murder them so that they no longer are in our way as we move forward to success. I'm Karen Sims. This is Twisted Threads. Make it an amazing day.
Reflections of Purpose.